The talking, nagging, lucha watching, puro viewing, indie supporting, drinking, cursing, son of a gun of a podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty and co-host Ike Isaacs as they talk wrestling and interview those within the business, bringing positivity back to pro wrestling. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Greetings and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. This is your host, Dave Dynasty, coming at you from rainy, wet Indiana in the heart of the Midwest. Yeah, the wonderful Midwest weather. It might be kind of crummy right now, but if I just wait a little bit by the afternoon or tomorrow morning, it may be 180 degrees, totally different. But we're not here to talk Midwest weather. No, we're here to talk Midwest wrestling. That's what we do. We talk past, present, and future, and we're going to do that today. We have a great show for you today. We have a fine young star really coming into his own, really starting to make a name for himself. Brandon Espinosa is on today. Great interview. Of course, we've got Wisdom with Mance Warner. Speaking of young, bright stars, old Mancer. We've got some classic Midwest audio, which we'll get to in a minute. But first, let's dive in. Let's talk a little Midwest wrestling news. Some headlines from recent times. On Thursday, November 2nd, Jimmy Jacobs continued his return to the Indies by showing up at IWA Mid-South in Memphis, Indiana. On that show, Jacobs attacked champion Aaron Williams, and it's been announced that Jacobs will challenge Williams for his title on Thanksgiving. And also on that same show, Outlaw Inc., Eddie Kingston and Homicide defeated Mance Warner and Zodiac to win the IWA Mid-South tag titles. Once again, as I say every week, please go out and support IWA Mid-South. Some of the best wrestling in the Midwest. If you're anywhere near the area, highly suggest. You never know what's going to happen at these shows, just like Jimmy Jacobs showing up. You never know who's going to be on an IWA Mid-South show, so get out there and support them. See those shows. Speaking of Jimmy Jacobs, him and fellow Midwesterner Sami Callihan appeared Sunday night on the Impact Wrestling Bound for Glory pay-per-view. It's good to see the Midwest making the impact there in Impact Wrestling. Not only Jacobs and Callahan, but Jake and Dave Christ already there. Those guys, say what you want about Impact Wrestling, but at least support the product enough to support these guys. These are our boys here in the Midwest doing some great things. So support them. This past Saturday, November 4th, Hoosier Pro Wrestling out of Columbus, Indiana, presented their 19th anniversary show. Forever. This is the promotion that Dave Dynasty was born in. This is where I got my start. Show featured guys and wrestlers and gals such as Shauna Reed, Sean Kemp, the Van Zants, and many more, including a return appearance by the notorious Sign Guy. He was there. And also they helped raise money and toy donations for the local Fireman Cheer Fund. Something they do every year and have done for 19 years. I remember HPW runs the first Saturday of every month, as they have for those 19 years. They run at the fairgrounds in Columbus, Indiana. So get out there and check them out. Highly recommend that. AAW has announced that on their February 17, 2018 show in Chicago, Illinois, New Japan star Tetsuya Naito, excuse me, just butchered that. He will face Sami Callihan in a first-time matchup. Naito will also be appearing for Wrestling Revolver on February 16th in Dayton, Ohio, and for Glory Pro on February 18th in Edwardsville, Illinois. Naito invades the Midwest that weekend. Get out there to one or all of those shows. You never know when you're going to get a chance to see him again in this part of the country. Very, very exciting. Him and Callahan will tear the house down. AAW puts on what I would say is probably the best shows in the United States right now, so go see them. Highly recommend it. Cannot recommend them enough. Heroes and Legends Wrestling announced that they will present an EWF reunion show at the Boardman Gym in Converse, Indiana on Saturday, December 2nd, which will feature several of your old EWF favorites and some of the current Heroes and Legends stars. I went to several EWF shows back in the day. Actually worked a couple for Jason Maples. Good stuff. It's exciting to see kind of that nostalgia come back in. Should be fun. That's what wrestling should be, right? Fun. So get out there and see that show. And while you're out there, get out there and support all the shows in your area every weekend, including these upcoming shows. Wrestling Theology will present a show in Carmel, Indiana on Friday, November 10th, featuring Shane Mercer, Drew Skills, Ace Perry, and more. Pro Wrestling Freedom in Jeffersonville, Indiana on Friday, November 10th with Jason Kincaid, Chase Owens, Trey Miguel, and more. That will be a spectacular card. All-Star Pro Wrestling in Shelbyville, Indiana on Sunday, November 12th with Flash Flanagan, Jonathan Wolf, The Bomb Shelter, many, many more. Get out there and check them out in Shelbyville. And, of course, you can see Rockstar Pro Wrestling every Wednesday in Dayton, Ohio. Ohio Valley Wrestling every Wednesday in Louisville, Kentucky. IWA Mid-South every Thursday and Saturday in Memphis, Indiana. And WCWO every Friday night in Indianapolis, Indiana. But wherever you are, wherever you live, get out there, support independent wrestling, especially important. Let's get out there, support the guys, buy some shirts, do all those things. Well, right now we're going to, let me discuss our classic Midwest match of the week. A personal favorite of mine featuring two guys that I'm lifelong huge fans of. This is a WWA match from 1984. Featuring the great Wojo versus El Bracero. We, of course, had Bracero on the show before. This was a great match. These two guys, I cannot speak highly enough of these two and how underrated they are and how much you need to see these guys and spread the word. This was a great match. Wojo works a very mat-based amateur style. He's also, he's strong as hell. Got a power game. El Bracero worked a lucha style. Fast pace, very quick. Did lots of things that you didn't typically see in that time period, around 84 or the mid-'80s, especially here in the Midwest. So it was a great contrast, great match. You can find that link on YouTube in our current episode videos folder. You can also see some matches in there from Brandon Espinosa, our guest today. So get on there, subscribe to us on YouTube, check those out along with all the other goodies we put up there. And right now then, let's revisit some classic Midwest wrestling audio. This week we have a 1983 AWA promo with AWA champion Nick Bockwinkel, his manager Bobby Heenan, and fellow Heenan family member Blackjack Lanza. And they're talking about a title defense Bockwinkel has against Wahoo McDaniel, in which it has been announced that the incredible Hulk Hogan has bought a front row ticket to that match, and these guys are they're stressing over the distraction of Hulk Hogan. So let's go to that audio now and hear this promo from these three guys.
Now all of a sudden, Hulk Hogan at ringside tonight.
Now I have got enough that I have to think about when I step into the ring with any opponent, let alone you, Wahoo McDaniels, who have been a scrapper and a fighter all your football career and your wrestling career. And now on top of all of this, what happens? The huge Hulk, the most powerful man in the world, whose brain and personality, as far as I'm concerned, rate idiot, went home to mommy and daddy, and they said, you shouldn't pout, son. Go out and make a man out of yourself. And he stood here, a man who we know in the past has gone wild and seemed to have gotten the blessing of all the hierarchy of the AWA. A man who now is coming back and says, no, I'm not going to wrestle. But what is he going to do? Look over your shoulder. Now, I'm stepping into the ring with you, Wahoo McDaniels, and I know I'm going to have to fight for my life to keep the heavyweight championship of the world, and to say that I cannot be concerned that this man is going to be sitting at ringside. I don't think ever in my life have I gone into something with more consternation and worry than knowing that I've got to step into the ring with you tonight, fight, struggle, scratch, kick, and whatever, and that man, Hulk Hogan, will be sitting there feet away from us watching the whole thing. Dave, go ahead.
How can I have a match with Kenny J not knowing where the Hulk is? How can this man wrestle Baron Von Raschke? And then the most important thing in the whole world, the World's Heavyweight Championship. I can't sit at ringside. What if he's sitting 3 feet behind me, at arm's length behind me? What if he's not? I don't know where he is. I've got to have 100% concentration. I should pull him out of this match. I should cancel everything. There's too much at stake for that man to be allowed to get away with everything. They announced he buys a ticket. They show an interviewer, he says to watch your back. The man's threatened us.
He is only buying
Oh, he is not buying a ticket.
He wants Wahoo.
Wait a minute, Wally Carbo.
No way will you ever pull the champion out of that match. If he does,
will step above the title.
How about that?
Or that, or have Wahoo McDaniels.
Everything unfolding right here in front of my very eyes. Fans, we're going to get you back up into the ring for more action after these important messages.
Great stuff. You cannot go wrong with Nick Bockwinkel and Bobby Heenan particularly. Those two guys on the mic were sensational. So incredible together. We do that every week. We talk, revisit a classic Midwest match and some classic Midwest wrestling audio supporting the history of wrestling here in the Midwest. So check those out. We're going to take a break now here from one of our sponsors. And when we come back, we will have that interview with one of the brightest young stars in the Midwest, an interview with the one and only SP, Brandon Espinosa. So stick around. You've heard him here on the Dave Dynasty Show as a guest and as host of the monthly Graham's Gallery episodes. And now you can hear his stories. You can own a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler, the audio book from Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., former multi-tag team champion in WWA and owner of Bruiser Bedlam. You can hear all of his encounters with the various wrestlers, places, and promotions he's worked as he tells about his colorful, long, and illustrious career. You can have your own copy for only $25, and that includes shipping and handling. It's very simple. Go on Facebook, look up Jerry Jaffe, Jaffe, send him a private message, and make arrangements to purchase a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler now. You will not regret this purchase.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today we are joined by Brandon Espinosa. How are we doing today?
Oh, we're doing good. Great. How are you doing?
I'm pretty fantastic, pretty wonderful. It's a beautiful Sunday. I can't complain too much. Alrighty. Yeah. Well, we'll jump right into it. So, Brandon, first question for all of our guests. Where are you from?
I am actually from St. Louis, Missouri.
Wonderful. So what was it like growing up in St. Louis? Have you always lived in St. Louis?
Yeah, I've lived here my whole 30 years of life in existence. But I've enjoyed it. I mean, sometimes I want to, possibly move to another city, but in the long run, I just, love St. Louis and have been here even with all the craziness that's been going on for the past 5 or 6 years in the area. But, overall, I definitely love being here.
No, absolutely. So that's definitely a good thing then. So then, growing up in St. Louis, living in St. Louis, what was it like growing up, like sports and stuff? Did you play any of those?
Oh yeah, I played 2 sports in majority of the time. Up until high school, I was playing soccer and baseball all the time. I played like 2 to 3 teams for baseball and 2 teams for soccer. So I was constantly busy throughout the whole year. And then when I got into high school, I dropped soccer and ended up playing football. Played football for the varsity team for 3 years for my high school, and then wrestling 4 years for varsity, and then baseball was 3 years. Was captain for wrestling and baseball, and received rewards for every sport I played in. So I was always busy, with the sports. So
absolutely, sounds like you were very busy. So definitely, as a lot of people see, is like when you see a lot of sports background, you see why someone would, jump into something as physically intensive as wrestling. So, but did you watch wrestling growing up? Was that something that you were interested in when you were younger?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been a huge wrestling fan since I was like 2 or 3 years of age. Back with Hulk Hogan, Macho Man era. That was the big thing I grew up on. That era, the Hulkamania era, and then obviously, leading into the Attitude Era and everything like that. That really spiked my interest in wrestling. I didn't know there was a lot of people out there that liked wrestling because nobody really talked about it at my school. My school was kind of more one of the ritzy, schools in St. Louis. It was probably one of the more expensive public schools, that had a bunch of private schools, like, a couple mile radius. So everybody was, unfortunately, sometimes they came off a little stuck up. But, didn't realize a lot of people, liked wrestling, and didn't realize that was actually a thing, until I met a couple of my friends that, lived in the city area of St. Louis, and, they would constantly talk about wrestling, and, obviously it would lead to that typical, I was a kid that would play on the trampoline and wrestle with buddies, or on, put beds together and mattresses and stuff like that, and Luckily for me, one of my good friends actually started wrestling about the same time I did. He actually found a place that was running downtown St. Louis, started camera work for him when he was 14. And, when I turned 18, me and him both, jumped over to the, school there. But, the wrestling has definitely been a huge part of my life since I was, like I said, 2 to 3 years of age.
No, that's wonderful. I mean, a good background as well. There's a lot of things that kind of go into that love for wrestling, but definitely having that when you're younger kind of helps that grow. So like you said, definitely seems like you were very much into wrestling from a young age. But when was it that you knew that without a doubt in your mind that you wanted to wrestle?
I mean, I knew that in middle school, like that I really wanted to attempt it. And then when I got into high school, I did wrestling in high school, thinking it was this, because unfortunately at that point, even at like 14 or 15, I didn't realize the art part of wrestling, and the stage part of it, and still very much believed it was, real. And, I got into wrestling. I was like, oh, this isn't the same thing. And, most of the time when I start something, I just finish it. And so I did the 4 years of wrestling, and thank God I did. I was a state qualifier in it, and, succeeded pretty well. And luckily for me, it caused my brother to fall in love with it. And, he qualified for state almost every year he wrestled in high school, and he actually got a scholarship for it up in COE and Cedar Rapids. So, it was a good thing I, stuck with that wrestling because it caused him to love it. And but I knew coming out of high school, even though, like I said, I was a 3-lettered varsity athlete, I had options to play football for lower tier, teams and colleges, had opportunities that I could have possibly, wrestled for teams, as well as I was one of, or colleges and universities, as well as I was a relatively known baseball player in the St. Louis area, and, had opportunities that I could have done things. But as soon as I turned 18, my mind was set to, definitely do wrestling. And within 3 days of my 18th birthday, I was already in a training facility.
That's amazing. So then, so we kind of got a good idea of your background, kind of leading up to getting into the ring and starting to do all those things. So who was it that trained you? And you said that when you were 18 you started training, but who trained you and how was that?
Well, it was at the South Broadway Athletic Club down here. It's run by a promotion called Mid-Missouri Wrestling Alliance. During that time, they didn't really have necessarily a full-time trainer. It was just a bunch of the, quote-unquote vets would come in there. And unfortunately, at that time, it was very much still similar to the thing that you would hear, Hogan put in his books and talk about where, the older guys would just beat the living crap out of the new guys, to try to force them to quit. So, I didn't really get a lot of good training up front. It was, there was guys named like Jeremy Lightfoot, Gary Jackson, Philly Blunt, 2 of those names, great names. I'm kind of joking about that. But Gary Jackson's still around. I mean, he's a former WCW, WWF like jobber that would do a lot of them. You can actually search his name, and he's got matches with a lot of the Hall of Famers that are out there now, including like Rick Rude. Pretty sure he had one with Razor Ramon. I mean, he had Legion of Doom in a tag match. I mean, so, he had a lot of, awesome matches, as a jobber. But other than that, I mean, I didn't really have a full-time trainer at first. So, that's how I started. Obviously, since then, I found some, pretty reputable trainers after that. But that was definitely how I started back in July of 2005. And then that promotion gave me my first match in October of 2005.
Wonderful. And then with that first match, who was it with, and how did that go?
It was with one of the guys that kind of helped train me. His name was Jeremy Lightfoot. Obviously at first you think, man, this match was awesome, because it's your first time going out there. I didn't really forget any of the, spots that would be back and look at it because I still have it on, back on a tape. It was one of those little itty bitty tapes, you put in a camcorder, and unless you were one of the smart people that bought a computer that can transfer this stuff, it's still stuck on one of those little tapes. I mean, little cassettes, smaller than a cassette that you put in a radio, but even that's still a thing on my car. But anyways, I go back and watch it, and it was probably one of the worst matches I've ever been in. There was no psychology in it. There was no storytelling. It was just us going out there doing a bunch of moves. It was that typical thing that unfortunately, the promotion that I, trained at did, they just were like, hey, you do 3 moves, I do 3 moves, you do 3 moves, I do 3 moves, then I reverse this, you reverse that, and then I hit you with, as he would call it, the light foot driver, and, when he's got 25,000 different light foot drivers, you really don't know which one he's hitting. So, that was kind of the situation, I just, I chalked it up, and did it, and I thought at that time it was freaking phenomenal, and then, within 6 months, I realized how awful it really was.
No, I understand. But still, it was your first match. You were still getting in there. So, obviously, like you said, that was your, first match is all, when you look back, you're just like, oh, wow. But, so then tell us about the first for yous that you wrestled, working primarily in the Missouri area. What all different promotions did you work at, and did you receive any additional training type deal?
Well, in the first few years, I didn't work too much in Missouri. Missouri, I was actually the first person in Missouri that had been brought in to have to start doing their blood work. Back then, before me, a lot of the guys were grandfathered in, didn't have to get, the physical. They'd have to get the physical. They'd have to get the Hep B, Hep C, HIV testing every 6 months. But when I first came in, I was the first guy that had to do that. They were actually shocked that, when they told me, hey, you need to go do this. This never happened, but you got to go do it. I'm like, oh, okay. So, I didn't wrestle much in Missouri because, at that time, a lot of guys didn't have that done and needed to get it done. So primarily I wrestled in St. Louis, just for that one promotion. And then I just cross over the river and wrestle, some of the eastern St. Louis cities, in that area, Dupo, Litchfield, I think it was Carlinsville. It was a lot of minor promotions. But, within the first year, I was trying to at least do 2 shows a month. I didn't have that great of training behind me at first, so I didn't, it wasn't harped on me that, wrestling as much as you can, it was a good thing. But within a couple years, I ended up dropping MMWA, or the training facility, and I actually moved over to Dynamo Pro's training facility because they had a gentleman named Dingo, which is a former guy that's done some minor things for Ring of Honor, as well as a former IWA Mid-South junior heavyweight champ, as well as a heavyweight champ. I think he just came back after like an 8-year absence and is wrestling for like freelance and like I think Funky Monkey and stuff like that. But I trained under him for a good 6 months, and then Davey Richards came into St. Louis for the first time, and he was training alongside Dingo, and so I trained with him for a good 6 months to a year alongside Dingo. There was some kind of minor fallout between Dynamo Pro, Dingo, and Davey, and they both left, and at that time there was no real trainer. So I actually went back to MMWA and started helping out there a little more. And that was probably within the first 5 or 6 years of my career of what I had done.
Absolutely. So, like I spoke of earlier, I do have some notes here, and correct me if I'm wrong. So you debuted at WLW, that's right?
No. I debuted for a promotion called MMWA. That was my debut promotion. I debuted for WLW 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Actually, 6 years ago. It was February of 2011. I debuted for WLW. And it was kind of a little unheard of because I've never trained at WLW. I've never done one of their camps. But I came in, actually did a main event match against, at that time his name was, what was his name? Because he's Leland Race now. He had a different name at that time. I can't remember his name because when somebody changes their name, it's stuck in my head what his name is. But it was actually Leland Race. It was a 2 out of 3 fall match for the WLW Heavyweight Championship. And that was my debut match. And then, I wrestled, sprinkles here and there. They weren't running as much as they are now. Plus, they weren't really running in the St. Louis area. They were in Eldon. And unless you really trained for them, they didn't use you. But then I started getting more and more in them. I had a few matches with Ring of Honor, dark matches. And I had, at that point, started going down to OVW, getting training with Al Snow for, like, TV, camera work, as well as how to book a show. As well as character development for myself down there. And so at that point they started using me a little bit more so that they, because I was a little more trained, I had a little bit of a better background, was trained by a former WWE trainer, so they started using me a little bit more. And since then I, at least work at least a good handful of 2 other shows. And I know for the next, 5 or 6 months I'll book for, every show there's except for this coming Saturday, only due to the fact that I have 3 shows in St. Louis set up.
Right on. So then, So then, obviously, I'm not too knowledgeable about WLW, but in my notes, one of the questions I was asked to ask you, that is have you encountered Harley Race during your time at WLW? I'm assuming he's a regular.
Yeah. I waved at him last night on my way out. So, yeah, he's there all the time. He's a great guy. Obviously he's a little bit older and, his situation, but great guy. Pleasant person. I obviously don't have any cool stories as you would hear, like, Ric Flair say or anything like that, because, I didn't, he's not that party animal anymore or anything like that. He's still a pretty big badass, though, let's be real. I'm sure if he really wanted to, he could get out of the wheelchair and, beat the living crap out of me if, things needed to happen. But, great guy, though. I mean, I've never had any issues with him. If he's ever given me, if I ask for it, he'll give me critiques that if he remembers it. He's a great guy, and I can't thank WLW enough for the some of the opportunities they've given me, and I think it's helped catch the eye for for WWE. I've had a handful of those extra / tryout gigs that you probably hear a lot of people talk about, and I think it attributed a lot to working for WLW as well as LBW.
No, absolutely. And so definitely we talked a lot about WLW there, but as well you mentioned obviously previously working for Ohio Valley Wrestling. So tell us a little bit more about your time there. Did you have any memorable encounters, anything that anything of notation you want to mention?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I was there, it was the Impact Developmental days. So, they had guys like Jesse Goddard was there, Doug Williams, Crimson was there, Rob Terry. Kid Cash came in a few times. We even had Robbie E come in, and luckily for me, Al trusted me a lot, and I actually worked with almost every single one of the Impact guys. Within a few months of me being there, I started wrestling in the main events, and was getting matches against them. Was in main events, storylines. So I mean, it was a great time. I loved being there. Like I said, I learned so much on how to work, the TV style compared to the super indie style, if you want to call it that, of like Ring of Honor or New Japan. It really opened my eyes on how to really make the most of everything I do in the ring. And, working at matches with like Doug Williams and Crimson, and, those type of guys, then also, respecting my opinion on, putting matches together and stuff like that really, really opened my eyes on, what I can really do in this.
No, absolutely. And definitely, I think that's something that I hear a lot about from people who talk about OVW, is that it's probably one of the best places to kind of get that development that some people need. So definitely, that's something that I hear a lot and that resounds a lot. So definitely sounds like an amazing promotion, even then and now. So additionally, another promotion you work for, Glory Pro Wrestling, one of the hottest companies in the U.S. right now. This is something that I've definitely heard of as well. But what's it like working for Glory Pro Wrestling? Anything awesome to tell about that?
Oh, well, I mean, that's actually the guy that runs that promotion is my current trainer. I always thought to myself, as well as I even told my, the guys that I started training with, I've trained 2 Pro Wrestling Illustrated Rookie of the Years myself, Ace Hawkins, and actually was a runner-up named Raphael King, who just was a top prospect in the Ring of Honor tournament this year. But yeah, I tell them all, like, hey man, you got to keep learning. I can only teach you so much. I'm knowledgeable in one style. That's the style I teach, because that's the style I want to see on the promotion, because I now actually help run MNWA, which is why it's gotten a lot better, and it's, more, storyline oriented and stuff like that, compared to when I started, when it was just like we'd all show up, hey, you're wrestling so-and-so and so-and-so, and had no rhyme or reason. Like I said, I tell all my guys I've trained, I've recently kind of stopped doing that because people are just not showing up anymore. And so I've concentrated more on my training with Michael Elgin. And, working for Glory Pro has been phenomenal. At first it was a little, it was difficult for me because I saw all my training, buddies working with, all these big name guys, getting these, like, as I would tell people, this, potential 5-star quality match. And then I was, tasked with working with one of my fellow training partners that I actually trained before we went to Glory Pro, with Michael Elgin before we went to his training facility, a gentleman named Sean Arleens. And, we were, at first I was kind of, iffy about it, but then Elgin started telling me more and more and more what we're doing, and then I started seeing how the fans were biting into it, and then, my training with, how to make the most of everything kicked in, and then obviously Elgin's, phenomenal creativity training that he does with us, it kicked in more and more, and I honestly, thank him so much for what, putting me in that spot, because it gave me and Sean avenue to actually show what we can really do. Besides our other trainees, that are really, really great wrestlers, we were able to portray these characters and get this huge story going. And, in the first, couple matches we had together, we weren't in the ring more than a couple minutes with each other. And, it was like I think it was July show, we had Cody Rhodes come in, and me and his match only lasted 10 seconds. And it actually got probably one of the bigger pops, if not the biggest pop of the night, the moment he pinned me within 10 seconds. And Elgin, came in the back. He's like, I told you, didn't I? I was like, yeah. I'm sorry for doubting you. And, and just from there, me and Sean started, clicking a little more. And, we finally had our, the final match of the year a couple weeks ago. And, it got over real great and everything. And Glory Pro has been just a phenomenal place to be. I've already worked with some of the top tier guys in, the indies. I was able to be put in a match with Austin Theory, Chuck Taylor, got to work with Keem Zane, Ethan Page. I mean, these guys are, some of the top tier people in this country, if not in general, in pro wrestling. And, I can't thank Elgin enough. I mean, the next show I've got Hakeem Zane, Sammy Callahan, and I think it was Sammy Guevara. And, these are three guys that are known on the indies, for what they do. So I'm definitely, very, very appreciative for Elgin putting me in that position.
No, absolutely. And then, you mentioned all these names, and that's actually part of the next question. I mean, it's like independent wrestling right now is incredible, and you're throwing all these names out there that like Michael Elgin, Cody Rhodes, and all these other names that you've worked with, and as well as the development that you've had. But independent wrestling is amazing right now. It's probably the hottest it's been in years. So, in your opinion, what's the best and worst part about being a part of independent wrestling?
The worst part, we'll get to that, is that there is way too many independent wrestlers. Obviously back in the day it was a little more of a, tight-knit group, and, not everybody was accepted. And nowadays, unfortunately, anybody that's got money that can either do one of two things, either pay to join a school, or they can, just go buy their own ring and make their own promotion, is now wrestling. Luckily, versus states like Missouri that have all those guidelines and everything behind it to make sure it's not a quote-unquote backyard fed, as well as like a state like Kentucky that does that. But that's the worst part. It's just there's way too many of us. So it's very highly saturated. There's so many people that can, that wrestle, and it's sometimes a little hard to get that, get that buzz behind you so that you can get the bigger opportunities. But the one of the best things about it right now is the fact that, there are so many opportunities with it. You can do so much with it. You can travel the country. You can travel the world. I mean, you get your name out there. You can be just as big of a star, being on the indie circuit nowadays than just being on the top tier, side of it. You don't have to work for WWE. You don't have to work for Ring of Honor. You don't have to work for Impact, to be a big indie name. I mean, prime example is you can look at one of the guys that did Elgin's camp and his booked almost every day of the week, and that's Myron Reed. I mean, the guy's had a couple opportunities for Ring of Honor, but besides that, he hasn't worked on a quote-unquote top indie promotion like, Evolve or, doing things for like WWE or anything or Impact, but he has made a huge name for himself, and it's got this huge buzz that he's getting to work for, like companies like Wrestling Circus, he's gotten the top booking slot for Glory Pro for most of the year, and he's making a lot of money doing that, and it's given him an opportunity to make a name for himself that, when he gets a little bit older and maybe gets a little bit bigger, a promotion like WWE or, the main promotion or a company like New Japan or something like that is really going to look at him. So, I mean, it's a good and bad thing, that there's a lot of indie promotions out there, but I mean, in the long run, if you know how to, how to work it right, you can become a huge success and make a lot of good money in the independent scene, like, back in the territory days. And, compared to when I started, when the territory days were done and you really had no money in that opportunity because there wasn't a lot of promotions around at that point. But now there are so many top promotions and so many big indies that are drawing, 500 plus, thousands plus, selling out their venues, really, really make a name for themselves and get, people to love pro wrestling again.
No, absolutely. And I definitely, I think it's one of the first time I've ever heard that negative that you mentioned, that there's too many professional wrestlers. But I mean, and the whole ideal around that and also being so many promotions. And I actually agree with that. That's actually very interesting. So I really appreciate that thought, because that's actually a very, I'm trying to think of the word for it, but that's a very detailed thought that I had not even thought of it before. So definitely one of the worst things I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, they're both the same, but they're both good and bad.
Exactly right. It's like it's amazing. There's so many people, but also it's wow, there's a lot of people. But definitely, and like you said, I mean, you can work in the independents and you can do these amazing things, and you don't have to appear at these, like you said, top tier promotions that are going to pull these, large numbers of people, which is definitely the most incredible part about independent wrestling. So to talk about you a little bit more here, as we've spoke of these top tier promotions, you've appeared all over some of the top promotions in the country. So for yourself, what's the top highlight of your career so far?
I mean, the top highlight of my career, and I joked about it the day it happened. It actually didn't happen, on screen or even in a ring. It was actually, I got called in to do one of the extra works and get a tryout, and just so happened a certain gentleman had just come back to WWE for minor appearances, to really create a buzz. And it's actually one of the two guys that, really got me interested in pro wrestling as a child. And I was just sitting backstage, I wasn't really sitting right next to the rest of the extras. And I was just sitting back there eating my catering, and watching the previous night's event. I think it was SmackDown that we were at. Or no, we were at Raw, but I think Survivor Series was the night before. There was one of the pay-per-views the night before. And I was just sitting backstage eating my catering. And I had a table all by myself, and all of a sudden Hulk Hogan comes over, and he's just like, "Hey, brother, can I sit here?" And I'm like, and I'm looking around, just like, who is he talking to? And then he's like, "Can I?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, definitely." And then he sat down, and I didn't really say anything, because you always have that, that little bit of what do you want to say, nervousness, around, those people, just because you don't want to rub them the wrong way, but. I think it was during the time, it was when Ox Baker had died, and I started hearing stories of him telling Big Show and Mark Henry about, Ox and everything like that, and it was pretty amazing, and it just was a surreal moment for me because, as a child, this is a kid, this is the guy that I watched, I was a Hulkamaniac, I remember a lot of the storylines he did. I mean, still I remember to this day, unfortunately, I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been Iron Sheik, but somebody had, like cut his boot laces, and that was like the huge sign of disrespect for pro wrestling at that time. And, and Hulk Hogan was just like the main guy that I watched next to, like Macho Man. And just the fact that now at this moment I am technically sharing business and work with the same guy that I've watched my whole life. I mean, yeah, obviously it's not the same deal as being in the ring with him or legit working with him, but, that same night I got paid for the same promotion that he was getting paid to sit in the back.
That's actually really incredible because, like you said, not a lot of people can say, yeah, I got to sit next to Hulk Hogan or even be near him. So that is actually...
And especially at a WWE event.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so other than that, though, definitely that would be incredible because, like, now I'm thinking about it, it's like, yeah, just something chilling at a WWE event, which is cool as it is. And then all of a sudden you just got Hulk Hogan just coming sitting down next to you. So, I mean, that's a 2-in-1 right there.
Yep, exactly. Well, then 3-in-1, you're getting paid and free food, so 4-in-1. You can't beat that,
Literally, there's no better moment that I can think of than this one right here.
Yeah, and as of right now for me, no. But that definitely was the highlight of my career at that moment. I mean, obviously that was like 6-7 years ago, but still it was a phenomenal thing for me, and I just, and I've continued to put harder and harder to try to get back there as well as, get back to the bigger promotions that I have worked for.
Absolutely. So as we kind of wrap up, I got a couple more things for you, but really quickly, one thing we like to do on this show is get to know the people we're talking to. So what's one thing that most fans do not know about Brandon Espinosa?
I mean, one of the most common things they don't know because I don't really talk about it too much, and recently I've started to come out a little more on social media about it. Is actually I have two children. I've got my little daughter Jade, who's 8, and then my son Logan, who's 7. And I travel a lot with them. If people see at the show, they see these 2 little redheads, light-skinned redheads running around at the shows and whatnot. And they're almost at every event I'm at. And some people have not put the connection together yet that those are my children, mostly because I'm, Hispanic and have black-brown hair, and then also have really deep brown eyes and, have a semi-dark appearance, when I tan. obviously when I don't tan, I'm a little light skinned and, almost chalky white. But, so they definitely don't, it's really hard to think, oh man, that's Brandon Espinosa's children right there. But, I have 2 little kids that I love to death. And, my son Logan is a huge wrestling fan. I mean, he's been a fan of it just as long as I have at his age. He started watching it I started taking him to events when he was 6 months old, and he's been backstage ever since. I mean, I've had, 1,172 matches, I think I've counted the other day. I kept track of every single match of mine, and he's probably been backstage for a good 900 of them. So, he's those are my 2 joys and my 2 big loves that I think, enough about having. And, they definitely keep pushing me harder and harder, even at the age of 30, and seeing them backstage or seeing them outside. Even last night was the first time that I won a championship at WSW, which was, pretty big for me just because it's one of the, it's a WWE Hall of Famers promotion, and it's, one of the bigger ties here in Missouri or in the Midwest to WWE. And, it was great to share that with my son, who came backstage, high-fived me and told me good job and whatnot. And, he may not know the full aspects of what really goes in wrestling. I mean, he knows it's staged and he hears us talk about things. But, it's still, semi-real to him, and he loves it to death. And it just makes it even bigger joy for me to know that I can share that with my children.
No, absolutely. That's absolutely amazing, though. And it's definitely something that it's a passion that gets installed when they're young, and it definitely will transpire and become a lot more. But definitely, so then another thing about you, we're approaching the end of 2017. It's already November, which is insane to think about. So we're approaching 2018 really quickly. So what are your goals going into 2018?
I could be cliche and be make 2018 my year, like every single wrestler makes it on Facebook and Twitter, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to do the best I can. I this weekend I'll finally hit the 100 mark of with the 4 shows that I'm doing, and hopefully I can find something for Saturday or maybe even Thursday. I still constantly reach out to promotions and try to get more and more work as I can. The fact that I'm one of the few guys in St. Louis that can work for almost every promotion, and, promotions are willing to work around my work schedule, not my work schedule, but my, the other events I'm doing, to really make sure that I can be part of their event. I mean, I'm doing Pro Wrestling Championship Series on Saturday at 7, and then at 8 o'clock, both the Dynamo Pro MMA show, they're combining with an MMA promotion here in St. Louis for Fighting for Autism. And they wanted to make sure I was on that. It starts at 8. It just so happens to the promotion that I help work with, and make sure that I can be there with them. And so, I'm able to appear for 3 different events that start within an hour of each other. And, it's just, I would like to keep that, work ethic up, in 2018. I would love to, I'm hoping to get a passport here soon. And so I'm hoping to finally hit international waters, either international waters or just even going north and south of, the United States. I mean, my family, I have family in Mexico. My dad's from Mexico, and the fact that I've never been there in my 30 years of existence, I feel like I'm not fully connected to who I am. And so hopefully I can get myself into Mexico this year. I'd love to go to Canada. I've already talked with Elgin, and, if I get things set right and I, keep working, he's going to help me out with that. And as well as, one of the guys that I train, Ace Hawkins, just went to the UK for a 2-week tour and did 20 different shows in 2 weeks. For that Mega Slam, and I would love to go on his next tour with him and be able to do that. I've always wanted to travel the world, and the best avenue I have and the best thing I can do is to do that with wrestling. And so hopefully next year, the big goal I want to get is to make sure that I finally can become an international wrestler and not just some guy that wrestles constantly in the United States that's semi-known in the Midwest and the Southern region.
No, absolutely. And I think that's an incredible goal, and we hope to watch you succeed in that, and maybe one day touch base with you again to see those results. But right as we wrap up, I only got a couple more things for you, but something we like to do with some people is a quick word association. What I'll do is I'll give you a name, and you tell me the first reaction you have to that name.
Okay, and that's a name for a wrestler, or is that a name for just in general?
Both. Generally it's for wrestlers, but yeah. So basically I'll say it and you just gotta tell me what you think. I got 4. Hopefully I say them all correctly. So the first one is Dingo.
Dingo. Oh, Dingo, phenomenal guy. Love the guy to death. I can't I can't thank him enough to really be the first person to push me to become better.
Absolutely. The next one, you mentioned him a couple times, but Ace Hawkins.
Ace Hawkins, again, same situation with Dean. I consider him a brother, even though, we obviously are not siblings, but, it's a guy that I talk to every day. I mean, I text him every morning and pretty much every night, and, I can tell him anything and talk to him about anything and vice versa. He literally is a brother to me. I know I have a brother, but, he is one of the few people that I can consider in this business to be a legit friend, and he is legit probably my best friend other than my son.
No, absolutely. Then the next one is, I hope I say this right, Paradise.
Oh, Paradise.
Paradise. Is it Paradise?
Paradise.
I was going to say.
Yeah, Paradise. Again, these guys are guys that really had like a huge impact in my career at some point. I mean, at first, to be honest, me and little Jimmy Long did not get along. I was this indie guy, and he was an OVW guy, and OVW doesn't like indie guys, coming in, especially taking spots. And, it took me a little bit to open up with him or get him to open up to me. But after that, man, I had a phenomenal, 2 years worth of storylines, one against him or for a year against him and then for a year with him. And he really opened up my eyes to how to be a character in wrestling alongside Al Snow. And I cannot thank him enough to teach me how to make the most of every little thing I do.
And then last but not least, and you've mentioned him as well, Michael Elgin.
Oh, screw that guy. No, I'm joking. That's just kind of the joke. That's kind of the jokester he is. But no, he is a dude, one of the, if not the best wrestler in the world, definitely one of the top, 2 to 3, 4, 5. I mean, he knows what he is doing. And the way that he teaches us down at Dynamo, at the Dynamo Pro Gym, the way he teaches us and the things that he has taught me how to open up with it and see the greater picture of everything you do, and how there are so many transitions and so many different, ways to get into things and how to make things count and how to really, same deal as Paradise and Al Snow, really milk every little thing you do. And, you can't get that from a lot of trainers. And the fact that I've been able to be with him for almost 3 years now shows that how phenomenal he is, and the fact that he's got so many trainees under him now that are getting huge opportunities. I mean, that guy is definitely one of the smartest brains in wrestling. And if people do not, either join his school or do the 1 or 2, week-long seminar camps he does a year, they are definitely as bad as it sounds there. He is definitely one of the better schools to be in, if not the best school, and definitely the best bang for your buck. I mean, the price that he gives for his trainees to train under him and, get all that knowledge, and, then he gives you the opportunities. You can't get that you cannot get that from most schools. And, again, guy that is probably one of the best, if not the best wrestlers in the world.
Absolutely. And I would be hard pressed to disagree with you with that. But I guess the last thing for you today, social media. Where can fans follow you, keep up with your career, watch you transpire, and get all these amazing goals in 2018?
You can find me on Facebook, Brandon Espinosa. Unfortunately, I have reached my limit at 5,000 friends. I go in and find inactive accounts to, delete off there constantly. I post all my events where I'm going to be at and tag them. But luckily, if you can't follow me on there, get me on Twitter. It's _B_Espinosa. I actually tweet everything that just so happens to attach to my Facebook account. So Twitter is definitely the one to follow me on. I constantly, the beginning of the week, or, I will post the events I'm going to be at with the flyers, as well as a lot of times I will post my matches, as well as, match results and what I'm doing for the day. As long as you can communicate with me on there. I'm not one of those guys that does not answer questions or answer, anybody that tweets at me. I can be personal with it and whatnot. So again, Brandon Espinosa on Facebook, and then B_B_Espinosa. It's hard to miss me. It's me as a little pop vinyl as the photo. And then I do have a YouTube page that is pretty sure it's the Brandon Espinosa. And I have 10 matches on there, and I've got about 5 more that I'll be uploading within probably the next week or so.
Wonderful. All right, well, you guys heard it here. You know where to go to find him. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go follow him and watch his matches, because I promise you will not be disappointed.
Come crack open a cold one and let Old Manser tell you a story.
King of Big Dog Style, Laird's and Light Beer, the king of the trailer court, your favorite wrestler of mine, me.
This is Warner's Wisdom with Mance Warner.
People, red light on. This is Old Master right here on another edition of the Dave Dynasty Show. Warner Wisdom. Old Master just got home. Oh, let me backtrack here. Hold on now, guy. Give me a little drink of this light beer here. Just like I said, just got home. That's good. It is the king of big dog style, Big Doggy, Larry Light Beer, king of the trailer court, master of the pop-up headbutt. I'm tapping my head right here. Larry Light Beer, wackadoo, dramatic pause. Old Master right here on another edition of Warner Wisdom. I'm tired, people. I'm beat up. Eddie Kingston, old homicide. Put the boots to Old Master's arm right here. It's in pain. I can barely lift it up. Barely lift this light beer up. I ain't going to keep y'all here too long. I've been busy. I just got home. It's raining real bad outside. Old Master, like I said, I'm beat up. I'm tired. Got my light beer. Just got home. Go do this old Warner Wisdom right here, and then I'm going to sleep. I'm passing out. Now, before I jump into the old meat and taters of this episode right here, let me inform y'all in what's going on, what's happening right now. Just got back from IWA Mid-South. On Thursday, Old Master did lose the IWA Tag Team titles to Homicide and Eddie Kingston. Homicide put me in the STF. Tried to get Old Master to tap out, but you know Old Master ain't going to do that. I did pass out cold in there from the pain. They got the tag titles. It is what it is. Old Master and Zodi going to get those titles back. I guarantee it. Now, let me hop on here. Everyone's been real excited. Been talking about Powerbomb TV. It's an app. You guys get it on the intranet. You get Powerbomb TV. You can see Old Master in IWA Mid-South, where I'm doing my thing every week on Thursdays and Saturdays. You can also see Old Master on AIW, where Old Master doing his thing there as well. We got Southern Underground Pro. Old Master debuted out there a couple weeks ago. Down there. And, oh, my back killing me. My arm killing me. Southern Underground Pro, they just put out a trailer for the event Old Master was debuting on down in Nashville. Hell of a promotion right there. Now, before I get into my story here, because like you said, Old Master going on tangent. He tired. He just got home, been on the road, arm all beat up. You need to go on over to ProWrestlingT.com, put in Old Master, get a beautiful Larry Light Beer t-shirt. Now. Let me hop on here. It's getting cold out there. You may have to wear a couple layers underneath that shirt, but that shirt is a beautiful t-shirt. Y'all can rock that at school, at a dance, at a wedding, at a first date, a 30th date, your anniversary, whatever it is, whatever it may be. They got the size from small all the way up to 4, 5, 6X. Put a little kid in that t-shirt. Put an old person in that t-shirt. Put him in that t-shirt. Buy your girlfriend one of them t-shirts. She'll love it, man. Now, Halloween just occurred. So the wisdom that Old Master going to give you on this edition, very, very simple, very, very strict to the point. I'm going to give y'all a review of a TV show Old Master got into. Now, Old Master don't watch a lot of TV. I'm just usually watching some pro wrestling or some horror movies. I like the scary movies. Everyone knows that. Manser refuses to pay for cable. I refuse to pay for Netflix. I refuse to pay for any of that. I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. I get all my stuff for free. Nah. That's the first wisdom. You should always know a guy, knows a guy, knows a guy. You never ever should pay for nothing, man. You gonna make him pro wrestling, you gotta learn how to cut some corners and save some money. Now, let me get into the review here. Old Master spent 2 days last week sitting down. I went and got my light beers. I ain't going to say what light beer company I got it from because I ain't going to put them over unless they put me over. Now, any light beer company out there that want to give Master free light beers, and I will put you over on social media on all the same avenues that you can find Warner Wisdom on the Dave Dynasty Show, the best part of the Dave Dynasty Show, on the Facebook, on the Twitter, on the Instagram, on the SoundCloud. I forgot something on there. What was the other one? Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, Facebook, iTunes. Y'all know where you get this at. Light Beer Company, give me free light beers. I'll put you over on all those. Put the word out. Give Masters some free light beers. Get that campaign moving now. Okay, as I was saying, I sat down for 2 days. I had my light beers, and I was ready to rock and roll. Halloween, 'tis the season. I'm going to watch some scary shows. I'm going to watch some horror movies. I'm going to sit down and get into this review right here. Let me get right to the point, the meat and taters. What old Master did is I sat down and I watched Stranger Things 2. I sat down and watched all the episodes. Now, old Master is not someone who sits down and gives spoilers. I ain't going to get no spoilers. You ain't got to worry about that with old Master. I ain't a punk. I ain't a jerk. I ain't gonna, well, I am kind of a jerk depending on who you're talking to. But old Master ain't gonna ruin nothing for you. So, the rating scale, pretty simple. Old Master sits down, I drink light beers, I watch the program. I may just start doing a live feed thing where I sit there and just record myself watching the show and I tell you exactly what I think now, right? Okay. As Master was saying, I sat down, I watched the program, and out of 2 thumbs up, I keep it simple, either no thumbs up, 1 thumb up, 2 thumbs up, I give it 2. Let me navigate my way through out here. I give it 2 thumbs up. Plain and simple. I got to open up this gear bag. I don't want everything stinking up in here. Old Master, right to the point. I sat down, thoroughly enjoyed it. Popped open my light beers. Enjoyed Stranger Things Part 2. It was amazing. Now, let me tell you why it's amazing. Like I said, I ain't going to get no spoilers on here. Y'all know old Master is a fella who has battled ghouls, goblins, demons, zombies, monsters, aliens, everything in between. Y'all know it. Master knows it. I talked to you before about the aliens. I talked to you before about the zombies. I talked to you before about the demons, the witches. The Cuba opened up there. I got pulled into a damn portal. It took me straight to hell. And I partied with a whole bunch of demons. Y'all know all this. It's in the archives out there. You could go look it up and listen to Old Master talk about it before. Old Master sat down. I drank my light beers. I watched Stranger Things Part 2. Amazing. From beginning to end, it was rocking and rolling. It was picking up steam. It was hot when it needed to be hot. It slowed down when it needed to slow down to get a little motion, get a little reaction. Everything in between. Amazing. Now, I heard some people dogging on it saying, oh, it wasn't anything like the first one. It wasn't here and this and that and all that. Man, it's bullshit. There's people sitting out there just looking to bitch and moan and cry a river. Old Master ain't about that. You sit down. I'm giving it 2 thumbs up. You can sit down with your family. You can sit down with your kids, your old lady, your new lady, your side lady, your girly friend, your sweet thing, whatever you need. You can sit down and pop open them light beers. Turn on the program from beginning to end. You ain't going to be disappointed. Now, as old Master could tell you, old Rita Rainbow could tell you, you could take old Master wisdom and you could just go off that, or you could be smart. You could sit down, take what I told you, go get some of them light beers, sit on the couch, pop it on, start watching it, watch it from beginning to end. You're going to get to the end, you're going to go, damn, old Master, you were right, baby. Now, like I said, I've been talking about 9 minutes. I'm tired. I'm beat up. Homicide Nettie put the boots to me. I ain't forgot it. Old Master coming for you, Eddie. So, look at this. Look like I got a alien bug crawling up into my crib right here. I'm going to have to put the boots to this son of a bitch in a second. Now, old Master, I'll get off here, get to bed, finish my light beer. I will see y'all next week. Y'all try to have a good week. Ain't going to be as good as old Master's, but come on now. Y'all can try. It's always good to try. Know what I mean? Master got to fight this damn alien creature. Now, okay, Ole Miss, you're going to get off here and get to bed. Y'all have a good week. See you next time. Like I said, take that wisdom. Go watch Stranger Things Part 2 on the intro net, on the Netflix, on whatever y'all got it on. I don't pay nothing for it. I give it for free. Now, I'm getting off here. I'm going to bed. See y'all.
Hey, Dave Dynasty here for the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You know, I've spent years in the wrestling business, from wrestler to promoter, and now as host of the Dave Dynasty Show. And I know that solid training from an experienced instructor is mandatory, and that is what you'll get at the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling. Not only instruction from former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tommy Wildfire Rich, but many other big-name wrestlers, managers, and referees that will come in as guests. The Tommy Rich School of Wrestling will provide in-ring training and personal character training, with all practices recorded on high-definition cameras. They have over 2 tons of weightlifting equipment, tanning beds. It's all in an indoor sports facility that will host monthly wrestling events that will bring in big names to ensure that you, as a beginning student, can get seen. This school has it all. For anyone interested in proper training, contact the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling at 843-691-9205, and you will immediately be on your way to a profession in the wrestling business. Once again, call the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at 843-691-9205. And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. Special thanks to Brandon Espinosa for coming on this week. Great interview with him. Special thanks again to Mance Warner, as it is every week, for his wisdom. Make sure you check out Mance at IWA Mid-South every week, Thursdays and Saturdays, Memphis, Indiana. Make sure you go to davedynasty.com. You can find all of our links to social media there. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, subscribe to us on YouTube. Like we said before, you can not only find our episodes of our podcast, but exclusive YouTube content, and as well as classic wrestling from the Midwest on there. So go check that out and follow us on all those links. You can also support the show by following the Amazon.com, the highspots.com links. Those two, no additional charge to you, but we do get a little kickback. So as you begin your Christmas shopping, please click those links before you do and help us out. And, of course, you can visit Pro Wrestling Tees and go to our store and buy a shirt. That also supports the store. And, of course, we would be grateful if you'd like to make a contribution to the show. You can make a one-time contribution through PayPal. Just PayPal me, the Dave Dynasty. Or you can go to davedynasty.com, click on the Patreon link, and make an ongoing monthly contribution. That helps keep this show free and helps with our production costs. And we appreciate it. Finally got around this week. We recorded this second episode of Graham's Gallery with Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. That will be coming out this Wednesday, so make sure you watch for that. Everybody's been highly anticipating that. It's a great, great episode. We talk behind-the-scenes stuff with Bruiser Bedlam. Great stuff. He answers all the questions, goes into details, gives us a lot of information that we didn't know before. A lot of key players, a lot of key developments. It's good stuff, so make sure you share that when it comes out Wednesday and give that a listen. I also sat down with Richard Vicek, author of Bruiser, the World's Most Dangerous Wrestler, the biography on Dick the Bruiser. Great book. Highly suggest you get that book. And you can do that here through the Dave Dynasty Show. Next week, next Monday, the next episode of this show will be with Richard as we discuss the rise of the WWA from 1964 to 1969, the first 6 years of the World Wrestling Association, Dick the Bruiser, Wilbur Snyder's promotion. We talk all about it and give you all the details, some history, some facts, a jumping off point for you to explore this great, great time period. And also, we will have a copy of that book, Bruiser, the World's Most Dangerous Wrestler, to give away to our listeners. So make sure you listen to that show and check out Facebook and Twitter after that episode is released for details on how you can win a copy. One lucky listener will do so. I highly recommend the book, and you can get it for free. And all you got to do is listen to the Dave Dynasty Show and support Midwest Wrestling. So wherever you are, please do so. Get out to a show this weekend. Buy a shirt from the guys. Buy some concessions. Support your local indie promotion and help spread the word. Please share this episode. And if you listen to us at iTunes, go on and rate and review us. That helps us out in their charts and helps our exposure. And however you do listen to us, we appreciate it. But make sure you share, spread the word, tell all your friends that, hey, check out the Dave Dynasty Show. They're supporting Midwest Wrestling. They're exploring the history of Midwest Wrestling. They are helping promote the current and prepare for the future. We're helping to expose young stars like Brandon Espinosa that we had on today. So get out there and tell everybody you know to check us out. Share, retweet us, give us comments and feedback. You can do that through any of the social media links, or you can email me at dave@davedynasty.com. If there's something you'd like to hear, somebody you'd like to have on, some topics you might like us to explore in future special episodes, let me know. We're always open to feedback and open to suggestions. So get a hold of us any way possible. We're easy to find. We're all over the internet. Until next week and that special Rise of the WWE episode, you don't want to miss this. Don't forget Wednesday, Graham's Gallery 2. But until then, this is Dave Dynasty. This has been the Dave Dynasty Show. Wherever you are, be good, be safe, be independent, and keep on growing.